Mike. Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1094 of Toronto Mic'd, proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. StickerU.com. Create custom stickers, labels, tattoos, and decals for your home and your business. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Electronic Products Recycling Association. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Ridley Funeral Home. Pillars of the community since 1921. And Canna Cabana. The lowest prices on cannabis. Guaranteed. Over 100 stores across the country. Learn more at cannacabana.com. Today, making his Toronto Mic debut is composer, producer, musician. Let's see if I butcher his last name. Lou Pomanti.
Very nice.
Okay, I was worried because I butchered Marcia Young's first name yesterday.
There you go.
How you doing, Lou?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm out here in the West End.
Whereabouts do you normally hang?
Bluffs.
Okay. That's where Gowan is.
Yeah, Larry's just east of me. Yeah.
So
And Gatto was out there. He just moved.
he's an Greg Godovitz is an FOTM. Larry Gowan is an FOTM. And now, Lou, you are an FOTM. Welcome to the club.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
You know, I've only been to the Scarborough Bluffs once in my entire life.
Well, that's typical of West Enders. It's like there are some unbelievably beautiful spots in the Bluffs. You just wouldn't even believe you're in Toronto.
No, it was long overdue, but I decided one day I had some extra time because my two little ones were in Edmonton with my wife, and I said, I'm going to bike to the Scarborough Bluffs, and it was a 67-kilometer round trip, and so that's why I always bike everywhere, and it's just 67K. That's like my max, pretty much.
So did you make it all the way to the beach at Bluffers Park?
Not only that, but there was like a, I don't know, something like where you weren't allowed to go beyond this point. Like, so I'm on the beach and there's a beautiful bluff.
Right.
And I said, screw that. I carried my bike beyond the point and I took photos. So
Nice.
don't alert the authorities. I broke
promise.
some. But yeah, beautiful. Honestly, absolutely beautiful. So photogenic. You live in a lovely part of the city.
Well, I was born in the Northwest End and
Like Rexdale?
Weston. So next to Rexdale,
Yeah.
Weston. So I was at Weston Road and Shepherd. And when I moved to my first apartment, I moved down the beach. So I went from northwest to southeast, and probably just wanted to get as far away from where I grew up as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
So nice to have you here. Do people call you Sweet Lou?
You know what? Danny B calls me Sweet Lou from the Sioux.
Okay, Danny B. Who's Danny B?
Danny Balaka. He's a blues singer here in
Okay,
Toronto.
I should know this. Okay. Speaking of musicians here in Toronto, the very first question for you, Lou, is James B famous? It's a great debate. I know you're a little biased.
This is not the first time I have been asked this question. Do you want to know what?
Tell me.
James B is very Toronto famous.
I agree with you, but you'll be surprised at the resistance. I think James B is very Toronto famous. And how long have you known James B personally?
15 years, I would think.
And what are your, he's not going to hear this. He told me he's not going to listen. What are your honest thoughts about James B?
Well, I can tell you, and I've told him that, and I've told many people this, and that is the first few years that I came into his orbit, I didn't know what to make of him. I thought, what's going on here? Is this guy for real? And I just kind of didn't know. And through knowing him and working with him over many, many, many projects, this guy is definitely for real. I've never met anyone who had the good of the musical community in mind, right at the very forefront of his being. And everything he does is to connect people and to further particularly the jazz scene, but not just the jazz scene. Jazz is a kind of a big word, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, you want to know what? A lot of people who are exposed to James for the first time look at me and go, really? But he's the real deal, man.
No, a longtime fan. There's my Look People vinyl here.
Craziest band in the world.
Shout out to James B. Okay, now it's always a pleasure to talk about James, but I did get some very sad news. So we're going to start sad and then we're going to get happier as we talk about your career and all the great stuff you've done. But I did catch word earlier today that Gord Lewis from Teenage Head had been found dead, and that's tragic, man. They've arrested his son.
I heard on the drive over. I played on a Teenage Head album.
Okay, let's get that story.
So I think it was 1988, and it was the Tornado album. David Bendeth, who had subbed for Gord Lewis when he got sick, was producing their next record, and he hired me to do all the keyboards on that record. And that's a terrible story.
That's as awful as it gets.
It'll unfold as time goes on.
Yeah, and it's not interesting. It's all tragic. But the police did the wellness check because of emails that the son, who's been arrested for this murder, the son was emailing the media. So like the New Hamilton Spectator, etc., and saying basically my dad is dead, and it was because of these emails that the media alerted the police, and then the police did a wellness check and discovered Gord had passed away.
Wow! So
terrible, terrible stuff here. So okay, now people might hear the name Lou Pomanti and they'll be curious. Who is this Lou? Like that name's like I'm not sure I'm familiar with that name. So you mentioned you were playing on some Teenage Head records here. What? Tell me, like, in a nutshell, who the heck are you? And then I have some audio I've pulled that are going to help us kind of discuss your career in music.
I don't know how much you know, but...
Okay, assume I know nothing.
Okay.
Like, who is this guy?
Okay.
James B. said, come over. Let's go.
So, the short version, I'm a Toronto native. I was born here. My career has had many different phases to it, and a lot of it was behind the scenes, which is why a lot of people might not know who I am. But in the last decade, I've stepped out, and I have 2 solo albums, and you can see me at a lot of high-level shows, waving my arms, and all that kind of stuff. And Jazz FM plays the shit out of my records, which is fantastic. So anyways, I was a young musician.
Yeah.
I was banging around the clubs, playing the clubs in the late 70s. I got my first big break in 1978. Patsy Gallant hired me to tour with her band for a few years. I was 20 years old. 2 years later, I was floundering in Charlottetown Theater Festival, hating every minute of it.
So this is in Prince Edward Island?
Yeah. No, Charlottetown's a beautiful place.
Sure.
The gig was not to my liking. But anyways, I got a call from Caracas, Venezuela, from David Clayton Thomas, and he asked me to join Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I quit the theater festival in about 5 minutes, got on a plane home, got a passport in a week, which I still don't know how I did that, but it was a different time.
Right.
And flew out and toured with those guys for a few years. I still work with Clayton to this day. And then I'm going to try and keep this short. Then I joined the Blue Note band Gangbusters, and that became such a media hang that all of the top musicians in Toronto used to come out and listen to us play, and that's when my session career started. So from 1983 on, I was a very, very busy session player. I didn't play live for a decade. I was just, the phone rang, I'd pick it up, and I'd be at Manta at 10, I'd be at Interchange at 2, and then I'd have an all-night rock session at Phase 1 from 8 o'clock on, and then wake up the next morning and do it all over again. And like a lot of Toronto musicians, I put my time in the jingle world. And then I started writing for TV and film. I have lots
but when you say jingle, I know I have to interrupt you there, but can you drop a jingle I might have heard?
Oh, God, no. I don't even want to think about it. Yes, there are some. I don't want to talk about that.
Really?
No, it's boring.
Oh man.
Who's
the boss?
Let's talk about the records, man. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here, look. I know some big names here, so I did pull some clips. Let's start with this.
Give me that wine.
To get some more detail here.
Sure.
My wife got tired of me running around, so she tried to keep me home. She hid my clothes, she broke my nose, but I continued to roam. But she finally hit my weak spot when she tried to keep me out from the basement to the rooftop. Everybody could hear me shout, "Woman, give me that wine, give me that wine, woo, give me that wine, 'cause I can't cut loose without my juice."
What instrument are you playing on this jam?
The clavinet.
And this is what is this? Late 70s? Where am I here?
This is 1980
Okay,
in
that's close.
Sun Valley, Idaho, and it's Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and that's the unmistakable voice of David Clayton Thomas.
You know what kind of dude is he? I almost had him on Toronto Mike via phone, and then the person who was arranging it said, "Let's put a pin in this for a little while,"
Right.
and then we never picked up that pin.
He
but-
just recently retired officially, so I don't think you're going to get him.
missed my window. It closed on me.
David Clayton Thomas is one of the most interesting and most influential guys I've ever worked with in my life. I was 22 years old when I joined BS&T, and he's 17 years older than I am, so he would have been 39 at the time. He's in his early 80s now. And, I mean, he was the bridge between the old school, the Sammy Davis Jr.'s, the Frank Sinatra's, all those guys. He was the bridge between those guys and the rock guys. He had one foot in both camps, and that's why he was Sammy Davis Jr.'s favorite singer.
Wow.
That first record of Clayton's with BS&T came out in 1969. And let's not, whenever people play with him and they're not quite sure who he is, I said, don't forget, at the 1970 Grammy Awards, BS&T 2 with Spinning Wheel on it that Clayton wrote was awarded Album of the Year at the Grammys, beating Abbey Road.
Wow.
And presented to him by Louis Armstrong.
Wow.
So I mean, I mean, his legend is huge.
And even listening to this live recording, funky as all hell. Like, let's just do a jig here, man. Sounds great. Sounds great. So okay, so you're still friendly with David, though.
Yeah.
So why did he retire? Do you know?
He's done it all. He's in his early 80s. I think
Musicians don't retire.
that's true. Like, look at the Stones; they're still on stage. I think COVID scared some people more than others, and I think it might have been a factor.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
it affected a lot of us
Yeah.
in negative ways. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna just drop, like, name drop. I know some people say, like, oh, you're dropping names. I encourage it on this program, so drop the hell out of any name you
Sure.
want. But here's some big Canadian musician heavyweights. You ready?
Yeah.
Tell me your association, what you did with Anne Murray.
Anne Murray, I played on 2 of her albums, Country Croonin' and Duets.
I just the other day it came up because that's right. We played Teddy Bear's Picnic on this program, and I brought up Hippo in My Bathtub,
Oh,
which was the first vinyl I remember. That one and Saturday Night, Sesame Street Fever were the 2 pieces of vinyl I remember spinning the most in the 70s. So shout out to Anne Murray. Okay, and is Anne a nice person? I get good vibes from her.
and it's very, very, very sweet. She's a complete, total pro, walks in, does her job, is lovely, speaks to everyone, shakes your hand. And she also officially retired a good 7-8 years ago.
To focus on her golf career.
Probably.
She's probably on the links right now.
Yeah,
okay,
man.
if it's not pouring where she is. Okay. Gordon Lightfoot. I warned you these would be heavyweight names.
Yeah, man. So it's like 1985, 1986. Doug Riley is doing Gord's new record at Eastern Sound. He quits because he can't handle it. Gord had just recently quit drinking, and his therapy was to keep the band in the studio all day and run the songs for 8 hours at a time. Doug couldn't take it, so he split, and I came in, and I played on that entire record, and that was very interesting. Like, one quick story about that.
Yeah, please.
So we'd be running a song all morning. Like, he's playing double scale. You know, he's Gord Lightfoot.
Right.
It's 1985, and we'll have run this tune 12 times, like starting at 10 and finishing at 1. You take an hour break, and then you play from 2 to 5. We'd run it 12 times, and Gord went, guys, that was absolutely perfect. Let's try it again. Because as long as he was in the studio working, he wasn't drinking, right?
Well, you know, you got to know your triggers, right? Like, if downtime is your trigger, then
Yep.
just delete the downtime.
Yeah, especially
Genius.
if you can afford it.
Right. If you're Gordon Lightfoot. Okay. And Gordo, man, still performing.
Yeah, man.
See, he's not retiring.
Nope.
Tell that to David. Okay. He's a good dude, too?
Who, Gord?
Yeah,
Oh,
Gord
he's the
Lightfoot.
greatest.
He's the greatest.
Oh, he's the greatest. Yeah.
Okay, cool cat. Okay. All right, I love, let's talk about Platinum Blonde here, man. Because I'm thinking of that scene. There's a documentary about the Tears Are Not Enough, the
Yeah.
making of Tears Are
Yeah.
Not. And it's Mark, I want to say Mark Holmes, does he pull up in like a limo?
He's the only guy. They were notified before the thing. They said, just be cool, you know.
Yeah, remember, we're
cabs.
raising money for famine relief.
There's
in, Ethiopia.
trying to do no showbiz, right? So, yes, Mark is the only one who pulled up in a big white limo.
The other vision I have is FOTM Leona Boyd in a fur jacket, so the fur coat from Leona Boyd, and then the limo from Mark Holmes. I just thought those were interesting moves for this charity single. But you didn't get a chance to play on Tears Are Not Enough.
No, but I was there that day.
Tell me that story.
I was at Manta, so I knew something was going on because the people had told me, because I used to work at Manta, do sessions there almost every day.
Right.
And Manta was at the corner of Sherbourne and Adelaide. It's now the Mozo condos, you know. But so I needed to pick up some gear. So, like, everybody knew me there. So I just pulled my car up to the back of Manta, walked in the back door like I always do, walked into the lobby, and there's Joni Mitchell sitting there. Now, I'm a major Joni Mitchell freak, and I got to work with her later through the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Wow.
But I mean, everybody was there. But for me,
not everybody, because Leonard Cohen was not there.
Leonard Cohen was not there. That's true. But
and Buffy bailed. I learned that from Terry David Mulligan.
Well, for me, it was all about Joni. It was, you know, to have a Joni sighting was pretty major.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Amazing. And did you get? Was David Foster there? Did you see,
they were all in the studio.
Was it Bruce Allen, I guess, running the show? Okay, lots of...
oh, God, everybody was there.
Everybody's there. Neil Young's there.
Yeah.
Of course, we mentioned Gordon Lightfoot. He was there. Okay, Geddy Lee. Let's name them all. Just kidding. Okay. Triumph.
Yeah, Triumph was really
Oh, by the way,
fun.
I need to go back, actually.
Sure.
We never got your Platinum Blonde story because I turned it into a Tears Are Not Enough
that's
story.
right. Well, I'm Platinum Blonde had that big first record, right?
Situation Critical?
No,
before that.
the first record that was just
Somebody
a trio.
Somewhere?
No, that's the record,
Okay,
one
keep
of the
going.
records I did. But they had that big first single where they were a trio and they were like the Police, but different.
Right.
And then they were doing their big second album, which was the big expensive album.
Right.
And they got Eddie Offord to produce from Yes. And I did that album and the following album. But the most important one was the second album, which was Alien Shores.
Yes.
And we were holed up in Metalworks in Mississauga, which is Triumph's studio.
Sure.
For weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And I did every bit of keyboards on that record. And we basically lived there for a long time. And I'll tell you something, it was really interesting. That was Mark Holmes' baby. A lot of people have a bad reaction to Mark's voice, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people have a bad reaction to Geddy Lee's voice, too, you know?
That's true. And Neil Young, even.
Yeah, so it's like, whatever. I'll tell you, at the time, that was the biggest record I had ever played on. I mean, it sold... It sold. Well, I've got the record. I got the gold record in my studio. It's 500,000 copies of the album in Canada alone. So that's a huge number.
It was, I used to, the Hostess potato chips had those, do you remember the little Rockstar cards? Do you have any memory of this? Like you'd
No.
pay 45 cents for a little, like a Hostess potato chips bag, and you'd get like a Rockstar card in it. I remember the Platinum Blonde one, highly coveted. And I was a CFTR listener in the mid-'80s, and I think every third song they played was by Platinum Blonde.
Well, that second album was huge. So when I got those platinum records and put them up on the wall, at that time, that was like the biggest record. I was the 5th invisible member of Platinum Blonde, and
that's amazing.
They took my keyboard players out on tour, my keyboard parts out on tour with them on tape.
They just press play, and there you are.
Well, I didn't really have the look.
You can get a wig, one of those big blonde wigs there.
Exactly.
Okay, so you mentioned Metalworks, and that leads us to what have you done with Triumph?
Well, I played on 2 of their biggest records. I played on Thunder 7 and Sport of Kings. And so that was basically me and Rick Emmett in the studio alone, because they had already laid the bed tracks down. And so then it was just me and Rick hour after hour after hour in the studio. And because they owned the studio, there was no clock ticking, right? Right. So we spent a lot of time, and I played on every track on those 2 records, which were both very big, including Somebody Somewhere and all that stuff,
So that's Platinum Blonde, right?
No, but there's one. What's the Triumph has a similar name.
Oh, a similar name
hit.
song. Okay.
Someone somewhere or something.
Yeah. Okay, so Rick Emmett's an FO team. I just need to name check the FO teams as we pass them. But
Rick's Rick is so great. Rick has the mentality of a sideman, but except he's a frontman star, right?
I think it's great. I've had up-and-coming newer bands like Mono Whales, for example, who will tell you Rick Emmett was their teacher, I think, at like Humber or something.
Sure,
and
he taught songwriting for a long time.
And they'll credit Rick with like the mentorship and guidance that now they're winning Junos. Like I think Mono Whales won Breakthrough Artist of the Year at the.
Rick's he's a real human being. He's a good guy.
And he writes poetry.
Oh, does he?
Because he's got a poetry book. Yeah,
I didn't know.
So shout out to Rick Emmett's poetry book. Okay, here's a guy I wish I could have on, but he passed way too early. Tell me about Jeff Healey.
Oh, Jeff Healey. I played on 2 of his records too. See the Light and something else. I can't remember.
Well, See the Light was enormous. Wasn't it?
Yeah. And so we did that. That was they were already pretty successful. So I don't know if you ever saw the Mansion on Spadina. So
No.
Spadina Avenue, south of St. Clair. Jeff's success built this unbelievable.
Oh, it's called Casa Loma.
Yeah, almost as big.
Casa Healey.
Yeah, so we did those there, and I played keys on all that stuff. A lot of these things.
Is that like Confidence Man? And are we got the right album here?
Sorry, what's that?
Confidence Man. No, is that a previous album?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so See the Light. I just remember See the Light was the big jam on that album. Okay. He's buried at Park Lawn Cemetery, by the way. I've seen his gravestone. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. Okay, Kim Mitchell, FOTM Kim Mitchell.
Kim Mitchell, man. I'll tell you, this is interesting, and I know that you don't know this.
Okay. There's lots I don't know.
So Kim calls me in 92. We kind of knew each other, but he had heard of me really more than anything. And of course, I was very aware of him. And he said, Lou, I need a new keyboard player. Who's great? And I said, well, I wouldn't mind doing it. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. So I toured with him for 92, 93, 94. And that was a super trip, man. I was 34 when I started that. Kim turned 40 on that tour. And, headlining at Canada's Wonderland and playing the Key to Bala with him and touring across country. Like, I love his music. Like, I love Kim's music. And Pi Dubois toured with us on the first year.
Okay.
And it was just, it was just amazing. But, so fast forward 25 years.
Yeah.
Kim calls me again. He says, my keyboard player's leaving. He says, who do you got, Lou? And I said, you're going to think this is weird. I said, but my son is the best new keyboard player in Toronto. So he went out for lunch with Sam and loved him. Did an audition with him, hired him right away.
Wow.
So 25 years later, my son tours with Kim.
That is so. What's your son's name? Sam, you said?
Yeah.
So Sam Pomanti?
Yeah, so Sam is doing fabulous. He moved to LA in January, and he's on tour right now with a fabulous artist named Banks, who has billions and billions of streams. They just played The History in Toronto.
Yeah.
They just played Radio City Music Hall in New York City.
Good for him.
So my son is out there killing it.
Okay, good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You must be very proud.
I am.
Okay. And Kim Mitchell, there's a rock star wonderland. This guy's a wild party.
He's a national treasure, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Yeah, like Max Webster alone is fucking cool.
Exactly.
And then think about, the Kim, I just shared this story. It's kind of a boring story at this point for listenership. But the Go for Soda, which I erroneously called Go for a Soda, and then Kim corrected me. There's no A in that title. It's just Go for Soda.
Right.
But that should have been a big U.S. hit.
Yeah.
Like he got kind of fucked by the labels. The record studio was pushing. They were pushing a Twisted Sister song over the Kim Mitchell song.
It's a crime that Kim never became big in the States. There's lots of folklore in Toronto about why that is. I certainly won't name any names here, but I think we all know who they are.
You can't give us a clue because I never know what's going on.
Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Rush was the focus.
Rush was the focus. Okay. That's our clue. We're going to do some digging here. Okay. Where do I go from now? I'm going to play another jam, and we're going to talk about this guy because this guy's a big, big fucking deal here.
Okay.
He's a BFD, as we say.
When a girl meets boy, life can be a joy, but the note they end on will depend on the little pleasures they will share. So let us compare.
You hear a little bit of the good part.
I like New York in June. How about you? I like a Gershwin tune. How about you? I love a fireside when a storm is due. I like potato chips, moonlight and motor trip. How about you? I'm mad about good books, can't get my fill, and James Durani's looks give me a thrill. Holding hands in the movie show when all the lights are low may not be new, but I like it. How about you?
How about you?
Yeah, man.
Bubbles here. Okay, speaking of big Canadian musicians, okay, tell me your story. Like, how the heck are you involved with Michael Buble?
So this is the most asked question about my career, and it's the pivotal that arrangement that I wrote, the one we just heard, that I wrote for Michael, was the pivotal point in my career where I did a leapfrog. I like to call this a leapfrog, and I've told my son, I said, sooner or later you got to do a leapfrog, which is you got to skip about 4 or 5 levels of success. If you're really going to catapult yourself into another sphere, there has to be a moment where somebody from above comes down and plucks you and brings you up to the big leagues. So anyways, this ties into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame, which I'm MDing at Massey Hall on September the 24th. We should talk about that too, but I was the MD for the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2007. We were inducting Joni Mitchell. And so Joni's sitting in the front row as we're playing that song. So Michael was a guest. I was asked to do this arrangement for him. After the rehearsal, Michael turns to me and goes, I love this arrangement. Why aren't you arranging for my records? I said, call me. Now this is showbiz bullshit
Right.
that happens all the time. except
Yeah.
he called. But it happened in a funny way. So Bob Rock, I'm sure you're familiar with Bob Rock.
Of course.
Yeah. So Bob Rock, who is a Vancouver guy,
Yeah.
was hired to be the producer for the hockey anthem challenge. Do you remember that? When
Yeah, they lost the rights
they
to
lost the
Dolores
rights.
Claman's
That's
hockey
right.
song. It went to Bell Media. Right.
Yeah. So they hired Bob to helm this competition. There was going to be a reality TV show that was going to be done. So Bob Rock, who was working with Michael Buble at the time,
Right.
phoned Michael and said, Michael, I've never worked in Toronto. I need an arranger, producer guy. Who do I get? Michael remembers me from the songwriters, says, call Lou. Bob calls me. Halfway through the reality show, Bob says, look, I'm just about to start the new Michael Buble album. Would you like to arrange one song on it? And I said, yes. So they flew me to Vancouver to Bryan Adams' studio.
Wow.
And while I was there, 1 became 2, 2 became 3, and it became 6. So I ended up doing the orchestrations for 6 albums on Michael's biggest record, except for
6
the Christmas
songs on
record.
his, this is
Including Haven't Met You Yet. which-
Crazy Love is this album.
Yeah,
right?
Crazy Love. And so
Wow.
Haven't Met You Yet was the big single off that, and it's still Michael's biggest single. And we did that there.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
so you know, planets have to align a little bit. Like luck is a part of it. It's like
luck's
this
a
guy
part of it. You
talks
got to be
this
good, or
guy.
the luck's not going to help you.
That's true. You got to be able to pull it off, but definitely things have to fall into place.
So you have Grammys. Do you have Grammys?
Yeah, I have Grammys by association with Michael. The jury's out whether I actually have a Grammy.
So they didn't physically give you a trophy, but the albums that you arranged have won Grammys.
And
for
songs,
Michael
too.
Buble. Right.
Yeah, so I'm in touch with the Grammy people, and they're investigating whether or not I get a statue or not.
You should get a stat. You know what? Just make a replica because you earned it, man. It's not
Yeah.
like you're faking it.
No. But here's a funny story. So
Yeah.
on the first record, I'm talking to Bruce Allen's assistant, and we're getting ready to do the sessions, and I'm in Toronto, and we're doing them in van. And I said, so she goes, so what do you? She says, so what do you need? And I go, well, now you got to understand, I'm used to working in Toronto, not with some world famous people, but
Right.
I
mean,
go,
you did
well,
work with Gordon Lightfoot and Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yeah. But Michael was very current at the time and
Right.
very big. And I said, so Sandy, how many strings can I have? Silence. And she goes, how many do you need? And I felt like Jed Clampett from the Beverly Hillbillies. Gee, I don't know. So I thought of the biggest number for string section that I could think of. I said, 34. She goes, that's fine.
The budget's a little more than you're used to there.
Well, I figured that Michael spent $1.5 million on that record, and I figured that's one corporate for Michael.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is a whole different stratosphere.
Yeah.
You know, so okay, that's amazing. So you consider this the apex of your career is your work with Michael Buble here.
Well, let's put it this way: it was definitely the turning point, and it was the most records sold.
Yeah, no, they don't get much bigger than Michael
No.
Buble. I mean, to be honest, not my cup of tea, but
That doesn't matter.
You know, it doesn't matter, man.
No, it
Big-
doesn't make the
big
number
fucking
any
deal.
smaller.
Doesn't make no. You know, a lot of these big fucking deals are not my cup of tea. But
Yeah.
man, he seems like a nice guy too. Hawking lots of drinks. Hey, on that note, real quick, I'm gonna hawk something here.
Yeah.
Your last name, Pomanti.
Yeah.
Italian descent.
Yes,
What a good guess on my part.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you enjoy Italian food?
I do.
Okay. So I understand homemade Italian food. Maybe
I thought
your
I thought
nona.
you
That's
brought-
gonna.
You brought me a pizza. I thought.
Oh
when
no.
I sat down.
So yeah, that box it's empty. But in my freezer, I have a delicious frozen lasagna from Palma Pasta. So when you leave here today, that box will be full of delicious Italian.
Excellent.
So you'll love it. And I do need a review from you because I have been told by people whose nona would make a great lasagna that
Yeah.
next to that, the best lasagna they've ever eaten is courtesy of Palma Pasta. You're going to love it.
Sweet.
So I'm also sending you home with fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery.
Nice.
They've been proud supporters for many years. And there's a Toronto Mike sticker here.
That'll go on my road case.
Awesome. Yeah. And take a photo of where it ends up and send it to me because I love it. So thank you, Sticker U, for that quality sticker. And of course, if you need, if Michael Buble is listening and he needs some bubble stickers, stickeru.com is available anywhere you have an internet connection. I shouted out Ridley Funeral Home earlier, but I just want to tell people that Brad Jones at Ridley Funeral Home has a great new podcast called Life's Undertaking. You can subscribe and listen right now. I'm lucky enough I get to co-host that show, and I think you're going to dig it. So that's called Life's Undertaking from Brad Jones at Ridley Funeral Home. Okay, just checking my notes here. Where do I want to go next? Okay, tell me about what you've done with the Geminis and the Junos and the Genies. I know Genies are no more. They've been kind of folded into become Screen Awards, but you're a musical director at these big events?
Yeah, so I'm still going through it, but there was a time when I was musical director for most of the major shows, and I was musical director for the Junos once. I was musical director for the Gemini Awards 7 times, and I was musical director for the Genies about 5 times. So the Geminis and the Genies
they
converged
merged,
into the Canadian Screen Awards.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that nice segue over, give us a little more detail on your work with the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. You've alluded to it, but let's get a little more detail.
So this is one of the high points of my whole career. When Frank Davies first started the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame in the early 2000s, they had been together, they had been formed for a couple of years, but they were about to do their first live gala. So he called me, and I had a band at the time called the Dexters, which used to play at the Orbit Room all the time. And he said, Lou, will you MD the show with your band? We're inducting Gord for the first year. And so it started small. We started at the Glenn Gould Theater at the CBC building.
Right.
The next year it was Bachman and Cummings, same place. Then it started to grow. We inducted Leonard Cohen, and we moved to the John Bassett Theater, and it became televised. We had some real high points on some of these shows. Katie Lang, blah, blah, blah. And then,
she did Hallelujah, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
And then the following year was 2007. Now, that was the big year because we were inducting Joni. So I was leading the house orchestra, and my guests were Michael Buble, Herbie Hancock, James Taylor, and Chaka Khan.
Wow.
So all of them hit me beautifully in one way or another.
Right.
So to be the kind of thing where I'd be in the basement studio working, and my wife would call down, Lou, James Taylor's on the phone.
So James Taylor ends up performing your arrangements.
Yes.
And Herbie Hancock is performing your arrangements.
Yes.
And we already know Michael Bublé's performed here. Cool, dude. Honestly, you've lived a life, man. This is very, very cool here. And Paul Anka you did one for Paul Anka, right?
We did.
And is he a good guy? It's not too late. Paul feels to me, and again, I think it's because he started so damn young, but it feels to me like he would be like 110 years old at this point, but he's not nearly that old. How is it working with Paul? Listen, this is when it gets exciting because it's like, oh yeah, this guy's great. This guy's a fucking legend. What a sweetheart. Everybody's wonderful.
I'm afraid of Paul Anka. I'm afraid
of his lawyers.
Bad about him. He's extremely litigious. He's very difficult to work with.
But is there something bad to say? You're joking. Are you not joking? Let me look at your eyes. Okay, because you can't. I've been told this by the great Lorne Honickman himself, who gave me some good advice recently when I had some issues. You can't get in trouble for telling the truth.
Okay, then all I would tell you is he didn't show up for rehearsal. He actually said to our producer that he would never work again of the show, the producer of the show. Paul has a lot of demands in his contracts. And he has a reputation of being difficult to work with, and I can confirm that.
Because Paul's got fuck you money. That's the once if you're of a certain nature, like a lot of people with fuck you money are still sweethearts because they're just naturally sweethearts.
Well, look at we when we were when you induct someone and you're the main inductee, right. Basically you talk to all the people that. Like Paul wrote a lot of hit songs. Like he wrote "She's a Lady" for Tom Jones. We asked Tom Jones to come. He said, no way.
Interesting.
So basically, the only person that would come on behalf of Paul Anka was David Foster,
Wow.
whom they have a business relationship.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, now Paul Anka also, Sinatra made My Way. That's his jam, right?
Yeah.
Paul Anka. So
He wrote the lyrics.
He wrote the lyrics. Okay, and the Tonight Show was based on.
Yeah.
it.
Ba-da-da-da-da.
Wow. Okay, so disappointing to hear about Ottawa's own Paul Anka.
Maybe
but
he was
they
just
can't all
having
be
a bad
sweetheart.
week.
Yeah.
Maybe he was just having a bad week.
Right. Okay. Tell me a bit, if you don't mind, about what you did for the 2011 Pan Am Games.
Okay, that was cool. I almost said no to it. What happens is the Pan Am Games have what's called a handover ceremony. So on the final day in Guadalajara, at this stadium of 80,000 people,
Right.
they take like 10 minutes and they do the handover ceremony because the next place is Toronto.
Right.
So they asked me to write an 8-minute piece of music that was going to be choreographed. And it was going to be performed live at this stadium in Guadalajara. So I went. There were tequila stands like every 7 steps in this studio. So there was like 80,000 completely shit-faced Mexicans. And then they performed my 8-minute piece in the middle of this thing in Guadalajara. And it was kind of like, it blew my mind.
No, very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hosting the 2015 Pan Am Games because we did get some cool shit out of that, and they enhanced my bike trails. Thank you, Pan Am Games, for that. Okay, whatever it takes. You have your own studio?
I have a small studio in my home where I do most of my work.
Gotcha. Not as small as mine, though. But,
No.
That's next level. Okay, so I'm going to play a jam. We're going to listen to it. It includes you and another FOTM, and then we're going to talk about some more recent stuff.
I wonder what it is.
Oh, you know what I'm going to say? I just realized the wrong pod is here. We're going to start that again. And I'd say I'd fix it in post, but that's somebody said that's the funniest line I say on this show is fix it in post because I never do. But here we go again.
Here in the shade, like a cool drink waiting, she sat with slow fire in her eyes, just waiting. Some days it's too warm to fight it, slow, hot wind.
Woo! All right, before you say anything, Lou, this is a contest for the FOTMs who are listening right now in their automobiles or on their walks. Maybe you're walking the dog, maybe you're on a bike ride, maybe you're just chilling out in the backyard. You have a moment now to think in your mind, what FOTM is this? What FOTM are we hearing here? Which FOTM? So whose voice is this? And now the answer will come to you courtesy of new FOTM Lou Pomanti. Lou!
Yeah.
Who are we hearing here?
Well, that is the one and only Mark Jordan.
Woo!
So I got to tell you something.
Sure.
I was a huge Mark Jordan fan in 1978, 1979. I was 20, 21, and his record, Blue Desert, came out in 1979, and it's a masterpiece. I absolutely loved it. And then when Mark moved back to Toronto after living in Los Angeles for years and years, I'd run into him at a show. You know, I had him on the Songwriter Show 15 years ago, blah, 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 blah.
Did you ever meet him at Allen's on the
No.
dance floor?
But, and then finally, about 5-6 years ago, I get a phone call. And it's Mark. He says, Lou, it's Mark Jordan. He said, I just heard a song on the radio that you arranged for Matt Dusk. He said, Was that you? I said, yeah. He said, do you want to produce my next record? Wow. And I said, yeah. And that has turned into a great working relationship, and he's a great friend of mine too. I can honestly say that on a strictly creative level, he's been my number one favorite artist to work with in my entire career.
You have something in common, too, in that you have talented musical children.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Zoe and Ezra are really great.
Yeah, we played some when Amy and Mark came on. And Mark was great. His stories were great. But I think I said this before I pressed record, but Mark was so chill on the mic. He would just sort of like...
He's chill in life. He's chill on record.
Chill is good in life. It's not as good on the mic. Like sometimes you got sometimes you got to project into this thing, but so we can capture those stories. But did you consider that late 70s Mark Jordan music, do you consider that yacht rock?
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's yacht rock elements in your music. Sometimes when I'm listening to it, I'm hearing like, okay, this would have sounded like, right, get this, was it McDonald? Or Messina and,
Well, look, I came by it honestly. I was 20 in 1978, and I loved all those L.A. records like Steely Dan, like all those records that use those great L.A. session players.
Yeah.
I was a sucker for it, you know?
Yeah, you can hear it, and it sounds. I'm always thinking my buddy Stu Stone would dig this vibe. Okay, and so Mark Jordan's great. I'm gonna actually play before we find out like what album that's on. I hope I pulled this. I'm gonna play this, and then you'll tell me what the heck I'm playing. But I think it's from the same album here. Whose voice is that?
So that is Robin Black. So that's the first cut off my newest album, which just came out in May. And so I lead a group called Oakland Stroke, which is a Tower of Power tribute band. It's a 10-piece horn band, right? And I said to our lead singer, George St. Kitts, we were doing a new record, and I needed some background vocals. I said, George, you work with all these great girl singers. Can you just bring one of them? Because I need some backgrounds when you come over. And he says, sure. So he comes over, and he brings Robin Black. And from the minute this girl opens her mouth, I'm like in. So I have been working on a spec project with Robin for 3 years. So her first single just came out a couple of weeks ago. Her second single will be coming out in a couple of weeks on my label. And I just think she's just the bomb. And the way that she works with Mark on this song is just like, magic.
So more Mark Jordan here. Okay, let's
Yeah.
hear a bit more.
Down below his knees, hold you in his armchair, you can feel his disease.
I'm digging it. This album's called Lou Pomanti and Friends,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so please tell anyone listening now, how can they listen? How can they score this album?
Okay, so Lou Pomanti and Friends is on all the streaming platforms. So Spotify, Deezer, Pandora, Apple Music, everything. You can either look under my name or under the album name of Lou Pomanti and Friends. But I
And we're
got
going to
some
spell Pomanti real quick. Even though you
Yeah.
guess it, but Pomanti,
ANTI.
just like you would have guessed.
Yeah. And so I decided for my second solo record, I thought, okay, I work with a lot of great people, and I'm going to take a track for each one of these people and try and write an arrangement, do a production that highlights this person in a way that maybe they haven't been highlighted in the past. There's some great names on there. I've got Randy Brecker on there. I don't know if you're a jazz fan or not, but there's no more famous jazz trumpeter alive in the world today than Randy Brecker,
Wow.
And I've got Emily Claire Barlow, who I've known since she was 15, and who is just an amazing artist. And I've got Matt Dusk on there. I've got Robin. I've got Larnell Lewis.
You
John-
have recent FOTM, John Finley on there.
John Finley.
Just made his debut here, I'm going to say about a month ago.
I saw. Well, I produced John's last album for James B., right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you
we're
came
all
up in that episode, of
interconnected.
course.
Yeah. We're all interconnected. John Finley is a force of nature, man. Have you ever seen him live?
Not yet, no.
Okay, so do yourself a favor if you get a chance. I've never seen a singer allow themselves to become to surrender themselves to a song as completely as John does.
I think, I could be wrong about this, you'll tell me, does he occasionally play the Old Mill?
Well, he...
Or was there something, maybe I'm conflating
No,
stories.
that's
but,
right, because
okay.
James B. throws shows
Okay.
at the Old Mill,
'Cause
and John is usually a part of them.
I bike by that damn Old Mill all the time. I'm just waiting for the VIP invitation from James B. So
There's
James,
lots of
call me
jazz shows
maybe.
there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, oh, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And just looking, I see that you caught David Clayton Thomas just before he retired here, right? He's on this album?
Yeah. So that's the duet. That's track 2 off of the record, and that's a big band, a big brassy big band track. And we thought it was really cool to get 2 60s Toronto's legends. John Finley, who of course was the lead singer for John and Lee and the Checkmates and Rhinoceros, and Clayton, of course. And the two of them play off each other like some kind of a jazzed up Righteous Brothers or something,
And I see your son's on this album.
Yeah,
What's that like working with your boy?
He's the greatest. I wanted to hire him. Man, it's terrible. I wanted to hire him as the second keyboard player on the Songwriters Hall of Fame show that's coming up, but he's too busy.
He's too busy. Well, who's coming to town because he's going to come to my event on September 1st from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm having an event. It's TMLXX. That's the 10th Toronto Mic Listener Experience. And we're going to be on the lawns at Great Lakes Brewery, which is in Southern Etobicoke here, 6 to 9 p.m., September 1. All FOTMs invited. But Rob Pruce was the keyboardist with Spoons during their heyday, and he's making the trek to make an appearance at TMLXX. So if you need a keyboardist, let me know.
Okay.
And he played with Honeymoon Suite as well, just to sweeten the deal here. Honeymoon Suite keyboardist. Okay, you mentioned that this I have a song here, so I'm just going to play this since you kind of mentioned it. But
Yes.
So you mentioned Oakland Stroke.
Yeah.
So tell me more about Oakland Stroke. if you
All
don't
right.
mind.
So this is my passion project. And in 2013, I realized that it was time to put together a big, brassy horn band. I was playing with a band called Brass Transit at the time, which is a tribute band to Chicago.
I get my Chicago tribute bands mixed up, and maybe no. Okay, I'm trying to think. That's one that sounds familiar. You played some like Etobicoke locations. That anyway. That's one I'm familiar with. Continue, but I've heard them. They sound great.
Yeah, they play mostly in the States, but they do the odd thing around here. But I said to Tony, the leader, I said, we were listening to some Tower Power, and they've always been my favorite live band. And I said, Tony, what do you think, man? Should we do it? Should we put together a Tower Power tribute band? And he said yes. And I called all my best friends from Humber College, and I said, look, I'm putting together a Tower Power tribute group. It's going to be a huge amount of work and very little money. And everybody said yes. So we got a record about to come out, and we've got a bunch of original tracks on YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. And that's really been a great passion project for me. That is one band that live, like, I'll put it up against anybody. We've got a 5-piece horn section. George St. Kitts is our lead singer, and it's a funky good time.
And Oakland Stroke appears on Lou Pomanti and Friends.
Yes.
Just to bring it full circle here.
We did a big band version of the Billy Paul hit Me and Mrs. Jones.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, do you smoke weed?
What I do is I drink weed drinks.
Sure. Okay. So when you're looking for a good weed drink, we'll call it, Canna Cabana is where you go. So they wanted here. I'm gonna steal your keys. Just kidding. All right. So here, this is for if you know somebody who smokes weed. We got an ashtray from Canna Cabana for you to take home with you here. So that'll come in handy.
That'll go on my patio.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and somebody's just smoking a blunt there. And I forgot to give this to you earlier when I was shouting at the good people at Ridley Funeral Home, but this is measuring tape. Like, you never know when you have to measure something. Maybe you stick this in the glove compartment or something.
A dead person?
You never know, yeah.
See if they're
for
gonna
the casket.
fit in the coffin?
See what size casket you need.
Okay,
like,
good.
it'll come in handy. Absolutely. I'm rewatching 6 Feet Under right now.
I love that show.
Yeah, me too.
My God.
I'm going to actually go out. I'm going to say it's my second favorite show of all time. How's that for an endorsement?
Right on.
Absolutely. But so it's like they're always selling the Titan casket. That's the expensive one. And they're always trying to upsell their caskets on 6 Feet Under. But anyway, that's yours to take home courtesy of Ridley Funeral Home. So Lou, this was amazing. And I'm worried, like, I don't want you to be driving home and thinking, oh, shit, there was this story I wanted to share. Like, this is your opportunity. If there were any stories you were thinking about, like, that you forgot to share.
Oh, my God.
Now's the time. I know I'm putting you on the spot here. Before
so
we play
many.
you off. But why don't you, like, it's up to
God.
you, but I don't want you to feel any pressure here. But now is the time.
Well, I think all that I really want to do is I just really want to tell everybody that I have 2 new records about to come out, and that is the second record that I produced for Mark Jordan, which will be out January, and it's a beautiful orchestra album, Mark with strings kind of a thing, and it's an album about America and the state that America's in, and it's amazing. And of course, the other one, as I mentioned before, is the new Robin Black album. We're releasing a new single every 5 weeks. And just, that's Robin with a Y.
I was actually just about to say that. So people, when they Google it, Robin with a Y, Robin Black. Amazing. Dude, this was a great thrill for me. And,
well, I can't believe all the parting gifts. It's amazing.
Don't leave here without that lasagna.
Yeah, man.
And we got to take a photo. Everyone gets a photo by the same tree. This is the tradition. And even if it's like, if we go outside now, because we have no windows down here, but if it's pouring rain, because when you showed up, it looked like, oh, it's going to rain. If it's pouring rain, we're still taking that photo by the tree. Just warning you.
Okay. It might be pouring rain.
Well, prepare to get wet, Lou. It'll be worth it. And that brings us to the end of our 1094th show.
Wow, that's a lot of shows, man.
and only 2 or 3 feature James B.
I'm glad I was so high on the list.
Hey, all good things, man. I'm just getting into some of the greats. I've got lots of ground to cover here. Look, you got in before David Clayton Thomas.
Right, exactly.
Our friends at No, we have friends, but first I want to tell you can follow me on Twitter at Toronto Mike. And Lou, tell us, can we follow you on social media?
Please do. I need you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I need you to go to Facebook, and I need you to follow me on Facebook.
Follow Lou Pomanti.
And Instagram. Please.
Follow them everywhere. Do it. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery, they're on Twitter at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta's at Palma Pasta. Sticker U is at Sticker U. Electronic Products Recycling Association, they're at EPRA_Canada. Ridley Funeral Home are at Ridley FH. And Canna Cabana are at Canna Cabana _. See you all next week.
8 years of laughter and 8 years of tears. And I don't know what the future can hold or will do for me and you. But I'm a much better man for having known you. Oh, you know that's true because everything is coming up rosy and green. Yeah, the wind is cold, but the smell of snow warms me today. And your smile is fine, and it's just like mine, and it won't go away. 'Cause everything is rosy and gray. Well, I've been told that there's a sucker born every day. But I wonder who. Yeah, I wonder who. Maybe the one who doesn't realize there's 1,000 shades of gray. 'Cause I know that's true, yes I do. I know it's true, yeah. I know it's true. How about you? Oh, they're picking up trash and they're putting down roads. And they're brokering stocks, the class struggle explodes. And I'll play this guitar just the best that I can. Well, maybe I'm not, and maybe I am. Who gives a damn? Because everything is coming up rosy and gray. Yeah, the wind is cold, but the smell of snow warms me today. And your smile is fine, and it's just like mine, and it won't go away. 'Cause everything is rosy and gray. Well, I've kissed you in France, and I've kissed you in Spain. And I've kissed you in places I better not name. And I've seen the sun go down on Shakaku.